And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition. And that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
The Brexit vote was a fair, democratic expression, and I will always respect that.
Starmer's humiliating Farage clause, surrender to the EU. It's like begging the school bully to dunk your head in the toilet just one more time, isn't it? And...
Big, come to London.
Net zero migration. It's what millions of people in Britain are now demanding. And I'm asking, would you prefer to be poorer or have migration fall to record lows? Also,
Disgraceful. It's disgusting. And it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this.
well, Labour and Lib Dem Lords have shot down a Tory amendment to exempt sex offenders and domestic abusers from automatic suspended sentences. But they've been very, very keen and quick to jump on the bandwagon about banning X over digital images. Are they just shameless hypocrites? And our favourites, Duke and Duchess of Montecito, Harry and Meghan, are plotting a UK comeback together after years away. Why now, and who's footing the bill for their security after all of the betrayal? Also,
it's possible that some people crossed over, but I didn't, and I think probably the reason I was separate from the third of those is because I'm gay.
Well, disgraced Peter Mandelson says he wasn't aware of Jeffrey Epstein's paedophile ring because, guess what? He's gay. How stupid does he think we all are? And... Let's get in. Bankrupt councils, though, are blowing hundreds of thousands of your taxpayer pounds on ripping down Union Jack's and St George's crosses from lampposts, all while hiking taxes to record highs. Why are they terrified of our national pride? And joining me tonight, I've got journalist Linda Jubilee, pub landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. And is this the future of farming?
The name of the cows normally on a yearly basis. 1 year it will be, the name must start with A. The next year it starts with B.
That's right, a farmer goes viral on TikTok. We'll bring that video to you. A huge 2 hours coming up. As always on this show, stories you'll never hear anywhere else on the mainstream media. But first, let's get your bulletins.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 9:03. Iran is warning it will retaliate if it's attacked by the US amid reports that hundreds of people have been killed during nationwide anti-regime protests. It's reported nearly 500 people have been killed and more than 10,000 arrested since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. Donald Trump has threatened to intervene to help those protesting. And this evening, Iran has announced 3 days of national mourning for dozens of security personnel killed in the clashes. Sir Keir Starmer is in talks with European allies about deploying military personnel to Greenland to try and deter Donald Trump from seizing the territory. It's understood plans would involve British soldiers, warships and planes being deployed to also counter the growing threat from Russia and China. The US president says he needs the territory for security reasons and has threatened to annex it the easy way or the hard way. 4 people, including 3 teenagers, have been killed after a head-on crash between a car and a taxi in Bolton. It's understood 3 teenage boys aged 18 and 19 and a taxi driver in his 50s died after the incident on Wigan Road in the early hours of this morning. 5 others injured passengers are being treated in hospital. The Conservatives say they would ban under-16s from social media if they were in power. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, has also pledged smartphones would be banned in schools to protect children's mental health and their education. It follows Australia's example after it became the first country to introduce the policy last month. The UK government doesn't currently support the ban. More wintry weather is expected to batter the UK this week as more snow, ice, wind and heavy rain is expected. Dozens of flood warnings are in place across Scotland and Wales in the coming days. It comes after Storm Goretti brought challenging conditions for most parts of the UK, with winds of up to 100 miles an hour in the southwest. And Derek Martin, the beloved actor who starred as taxi driver Charlie Slater in EastEnders, has died at the age of 92. Martin played the character between 2000 and 2011 and made guest appearances in the years after that. His agent described him as a truly authentic working-class voice in British TV and film for over 50 years. And his family say he wasn't just a devoted father, but a friend too. Those are the latest headlines. Have a very good evening.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We're starting off with this tonight because I think Keir Starmer is betraying the British people with his latest backdoor reveal of Brexit. The most unpopular Prime Minister in history is negotiating, get this, a Nigel Farage clause with his globalist EU masters, a plan designed to tie Britain to the beleaguered and dying European Union when the Labour Party inevitably lose the next election.
We've already taken steps on food and agriculture to align with the single market. That's the sovereign decision that we have taken. I think we should get closer.
Well, as part of the PM's EU reset, the European Union is demanding that if a future British government dares to scrap their veterinary deal, one that could force us to align with every new EU rule on food, animals and plants, no questions asked, that we must pay a massive financial compensation to them, billions potentially, to cover their costs. And why? Because they're terrified of Nigel Farage and Reform UK winning power and tearing up this Brexit betrayal that's going on right now. The fact they even call it the Farage Clause seems a blatant admission to me that they are trying to interfere in our democracy. It's designed to bind future parliaments and financially punish voters who want Britain to be free of them again.
So what you get with Nigel Farage is a lot of slippery things that are said, but when you hold them up to the light, they're not actually true.
Right, this is like going to the kid that bullies you in school and asking them if you don't mind them dunking your head in the toilet again. That's what this feels like with the EU. They are bullies. Remember this.
The Brexit vote was a fair, democratic expression, and I will always respect that. Not about going back into the EU. We've left, we're not going back. It's not about the single market or customs union.
This is an embarrassing betrayal. The British people voted in an historic referendum to take back control from Brussels, not pay penalties if we exercise control of our country. This is coming from, by the way, all of this, our so-called allies. The EU, our great close allies, the same allies that have clearly no respect for our sovereignty. They've done everything they can to punish us for rejecting their superstate rule and constantly want our help still to prop up their security. But when we want our bit of sovereignty back, oh, no, can't have that, Britain. Well, Starmer's pledged no return to the single market, no customs union, no freedom of movement. But here we are, aligning with EU laws we can't change, we can't vote on, and he's also opening talks on youth mobility that smells like free movement for the under-30s, if you ask me, and defence pacts that tie us to the Brussels agenda. And now this penalty clause will lock us there forever. We rejected David Cameron's negotiations with the EU because it would have been half in, half out. That's what Keir Starmer's doing, the worst of both worlds. Starmer has no authority to sign away our independence like this. He won an election and a mandate promising to make Brexit work, not undo it sneakily. No referendum, no debate. He's just got these secret backroom talks about handing control back to these unelected bureaucrats in Brussels while they laugh in his face and look ahead to a Farage government. Doesn't that show you how much faith they have in him? Well, Nigel Farage is once again right on this. No parliament should or can bind its successor, and Reform have said they will scrap this outrageous deal, thank God. Why should we ever honour clauses meant to scare us into submission? Britain deserves leaders who will fight for our sovereignty, not ones who are grovelling to the EU for a simple pat on the head. And to that 11% of Brits that still give this disastrous Orwellian government a positive approval rating, wake up. And to the EU, I say this. Starmer might be bullied and pandered to you, but as we showed in 1945, our spirit won't be crushed by tyranny in Europe, and nor will you win. Let's talk about this. I've got my fantastic panel with me tonight, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, pub landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Welcome to the show, everybody. Adam, I'll start with you. You know, for all intents and purposes, Brexit really wasn't that long ago. People were quite clear. They wanted a cut with Brussels. David Cameron came back from negotiating with the EU with the worst possible deal, which would have kept us in with no voting powers, but a full alignment with the EU. That was rejected by the British people. And what we've got now is Keir Starmer putting in that exact same rejection of that vote. So this is, in my opinion, a complete betrayal of Brexit.
Look, Keir Starmer has said in an interview that he prioritises Davos over Westminster. And the reason he said that is where the real power is. These liberal elites want to be governed and in line with European elites. It's a big club. And especially with Starmer, him and his lawyer mates, they've just given away Chagos, our own territory, and they're making us plebs pay for the privilege. Right, this is the most anti-British government of my lifetime. I'm horrified at what this man is doing. People like me voted in 2016 because we was given that right, our democratic right to vote. Keir Starmer wanted a second referendum because he didn't like the way that people like me, how dare we, go against what he believes. And this is what he's doing. He's take us in via the back door. And it's a stitch-up. Because he knows, anyone in this country knows, Bill surely is starting to realise now that as long as Nigel Farage, let's hope so, is alive, he will be the next Prime Minister of this country. OK? It's no, shaking your head, Bill. It's a shoo-in. And they know that, and they want to try and punish us.
Linda, I'll come to you in a second, because I want you to... I know you've got a lot of notes. Linda, go on.
I feel as though Bill should have...
Yeah, go on. All right, if you want to give it to Bill first, go on, Bill.
Well, firstly, Adam, take the tablets. Nigel Farage's shoo-in, when he's on 28% of the vote, historically is just not accurate.
The momentum, if you go on the streets and speak to people, you'll realise
the momentum is coming down in terms of Farage's approval ratings. But anyway, let's deal with the facts. Shock horror. The European Union wants some protection from the madness of Brexit. Wake up and sniff the roses. The reality is that termination clauses are part of any trade deal. And the clause that you're talking about says that in the event that a future government, it doesn't say that government can't rip up the deal, but if it did, it would have to pay for the infrastructure costs and the reinstatement of border costs. I hear all the invective. You're not in line with British people. By 2 to 1, by 2 to 1, when you look at the polls, they regret Brexit. 65% of them want a closer relationship with the European Union. Why? Because we've lost out massively from Brexit. There was a study. There was a study just before Christmas that was authored, I think, from Stanford University, that the cost to the UK exchequer in tax terms was about £90 billion a year.
Still less than we pay the EU.
Hold on. What are you talking about?
Look at the facts.
The annual cost was about £5 billion a year, and we benefited from that.
There's a lot of secretive costs that go with that. But UK investment's up 19.5%. We've got exports are up higher than the EU. So EU's exports are 5%. Ours are around 8%. Employment has increased significantly since we left the EU. Ours unemployment in the EU is 6.2%. Ours is only 5%. We're doing way better off outside the EU.
Then why, Alex, don't people agree with you?
Well, because it's narrative, isn't it? It's narrative.
No.
And also, a lot of people voted for Brexit to take back control of their borders, which the Tories failed to do, dramatically failed to do, actually.
Yeah,
so that's a massive part of it. But in terms of economically, we are better off outside the EU.
Let me come back to that independent study that said £90 billion a year lost in terms of taxes and public spending.
From the central issue at hand here. So the first thing we have to pay attention to is the election is 3.5 years away.
That's true.
And no one can predict what is going to happen. Not you and not you. OK? So the next thing is that this does seem to me, because it does involve a fine, this is anti-democratic. You do not nobble the incoming government because you fear it's going to do something you don't want it to do, because we're a democratic country and we don't do that. We actually don't do that. So he sticks to Keir Starmer sticks to his policies, but he should not be tying the hands of any future government that comes in and disagrees with him. Because, as I said, we are a democracy.
Then we don't do trade deals, and we lose out significantly. And this is about food and agricultural products, and the estimates are that it would boost trade by 22%.
Well, the estimates for the EU stuff have always been actually massively overblown, and their exports are far lower than ours are now outside of them. And the next step we know is customs union, which will destroy all of the trade deals we've done. People voted to leave. That was only 10 years ago. It wasn't 50 years ago.
They voted 52 to 48.
They still voted to leave.
Yeah.
It's democratic right. They wanted to get out of it. They haven't had the Brexit that they voted for. And time again, the Tories refused to implement it, and Labour is now going back on it, right? So I don't think, of course, British people are looking at it going, well, we didn't do anything with it. What was the point, right? Of course they're going to feel that way. And I'm not surprised they do. But they deserve to have what they voted for. If we keep on saying, oh, well, now these polls say this. The polls before Brexit, by the way, showed that But overwhelmingly, people would have voted to stay in the EU, and what happened? We left. So let's not take polls. If we're not taking election polls,
if we're not
taking election polls for gospel, we shouldn't be taking polls about the EU for gospel.
Alex, you say people are not getting what they voted for. Let's go back. Hold on. It wasn't clear what they were voting for. And let's go back.
It was so clear.
Hold on. Let's go back to that referendum. I remember the Leave campaign saying that if you vote to leave the European Union, you can remain part of the customs union and the single market. That's due to the atrocious deal that was negotiated ultimately by Boris Johnson, was not on the agenda. It wasn't clear what people were voting for. The reality, I think, has been disastrous. Not just my view, that's the view of British people if you look at the opinion polling evidence.
Based on polls, which we've just said we shouldn't take for gospel.
How dare us, uneducated common folk, vote for freedom, vote for sovereignty? How dare we? The way you're sounding there, Bill, is why we voted out, because the elites and the politicians of this country treat people like me and the working man or woman as trash. And if we dare to do the opposite of what they want, they punish us, and that is what has happened.
Linda, I want to come back to you because I get there's always going to be this Brexit divide between people, right? But my problem with it is this: is that the EU is wanting a lot from us. And we're wanting a lot from the EU. One, Keir Starmer shouldn't be betraying his mandate, which he said he wouldn't be doing all these things. He's now gone and done them. Things that he pledged he wouldn't do. He's gone and done them. I think that's a betrayal for British people. And the EU is hammering us when they're asking us, why don't you come and help defend Greenland? Why don't you cozy up with us instead of America?
I do think there's room for some kind of connection and some kind of support when it comes to military strategy. I think that would be completely advisable.
With a trade bloc. It's a trade bloc, let's be honest.
I'm talking about what we do about the geopolitical situation right now.
But the EU is a trade bloc. Let's remember that.
OK, but I am talking about the kinds of things our military leaders have been talking about all week long. And every single major, significant military person we have here says we have to have militarily a closer relationship with Europe in the current environment. But that's not the same.
Europe is not the EU.
I agree with that. I'm saying that. I'm making that distinction. I'm simply saying, OK, I agree with it in that one area, but we do not need to be moving back into Europe by stealth. It's like a weird form of the stealth taxing. We're going back in by stealth, and that's not fair to people.
No, but we're not going back in by stealth. Look, personally, I wish this Labour government was saying at the very least that we would rejoin the customs union because there would be significant benefits to us. But the government hold on, the government is not the government is not saying that, and Keir Starmer is not saying that. He's saying no to rejoining the European Union, no to the single market, and no to the customs union, but yes to closer trading relationships. And
Bill,
whenever you
every time you said that they're not going to do this and they've come back 2 weeks later and they've done it, I'd be a wealthy man today. But that's the problem. You've got more sense than they do, Bill, and I respect you for that because you look at things in an objective way. Keir Starmer doesn't have those values that you do. He's ploughing on with this completely headless chicken policy about everything. He hasn't got values on this.
If he intended to take us back, say, into the customs union, I think he would have made that clear by now. And yet, at every juncture,
But isn't that his problem?
Every juncture, he's saying no to that. I personally wish he would.
Isn't that exactly his problem, though? He does things by stealth. He does things in a half-hearted way, changes his mind. He's inconsistent. That is his precise problem.
That is a big problem.
If this government cannot work out that increasing national insurance contributions and business rates and things on businesses hurt jobs, cost billions, then how can they be trusted with complicated EU law and business? How? They can't even sort this country out, yet they want to tie us into things that are complicated.
This whole mantra is stop the world, I want to get off. If you live in an inter-trading relationship and you want trade deals, that involves compromise. And the compromise of this is that we get a deal, we boost our agricultural exports by about 22% according to estimates. But if any government chooses to rip this deal up, which would be their right, as is part of any trade agreement. As is the part of any trade agreement that you sign.
I understand that, but I also think these are meant to be our greatest allies. These are the people, the coalition of the willing, all this military, all this stuff. We're meant to be friends. And we're not friends, we're adversaries, and we're not looking at this realistically, and the British government currently is not taking it seriously, that actually they don't have our best interests. No. They're looking out for their super bureaucracy. That's their job. Our job is to look out for Britain, and I don't think this government has understood that very well. Look at the fisheries deal we've done. Look at all the other things we've been doing around the world, Chagos and all these other things. Britain is not a priority to them, and that is why I've got this big problem.
The British national interest, and British people back this up in polling, the British national interest is to have a closer trading relationship with the European Union, and that's what the government's trying to deliver.
Give us another referendum, we'll win it again. That's what I say, Bill. Give us another referendum, we'll win it again.
I tell you what we need
We're not going to have that.
We'll come back.
But I tell you what you need to do if you ever have another referendum. I don't think it'll be that soon, but you need a super majority this time round.
We've got to leave it there. I've run well over time. Thank you very much for a hearty debate, everybody. It's time now for the Great British Giveaway. 85 grand up for grabs. Can you be in the draw to make it yours? Here's all the details you need.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, it's your favourite couple. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are set for a royal return. That's reports suggesting the Duchess of Sussex may be visiting the UK for the first time since Queen Elizabeth II's funeral just 4 years ago. But next.
Disgraceful. It's disgusting. And it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this.
This is really interesting, and the press haven't really caught up with this because, of course, we've talked about this X-ban, this Elon Musk X-ban over the last few days, but there's a slight twist here, right? Because Labour and Lib Dem Lords have just shot down an amendment that would basically suspend domestic abusers from going straight to prison. Very interesting stuff. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's been an interesting week when we talk about the safety of women, hasn't it? Because the UK government is now threatening to ban X, Elon Musk's social media platform, over explicit AI content and image generation of that, despite the platform tightening controls on its AI service called Grok, which this week is requiring users now to provide their name, bank details via a paid service. Well, Liz Kendall promised on Friday that ministers were looking seriously at the possibility of banning access to X completely in the UK. Reform leader Nigel Farage has said that more needs to be done to improve the service, but warns a total ban would be a dangerous attack on free speech. Now, the Lib Dems and Labour Lords interestingly voted down a Tory amendment to exempt sex offenders and domestic abusers from automatic suspended sentences. That was the other night. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy, in my opinion, here. And meanwhile, last month, 93 of Brits supported deporting illegal migrants who are guilty of rape and violent crimes, with 67 saying illegal migration has had a negative impact on women's safety. So is Labour really concerned about online safety and protecting women, or is it just hypocrisy and political point scoring? Well, I'm joined now by the Executive Chair of the Women's Policy Centre, Paola Diana, and former Labour advisor, Susie Stride. Welcome to the show, both of you. Susie, I'll start with you. This shooting down by Labour peers of that amendment, to me, says there's a massive hypocrisy here. Outraged when Elon Musk's platform does something, but when your own government's voting down policies that would actually help women and tackle domestic abuse, Labour's completely silent on it. In fact, they're voting the other way.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, I think I'm not really quite sure what you're talking about. You know, the Labour government have come in and, number one, our record on this, we've just released a massive new swathe of policies that are going to help protect women. Now, let's just come to Elon Musk and his platform. The fact is, there is evidence that not just women being indecent images of women being put out, but indecent images of children. And you've just got to think about indecent images of children.
Susie, I don't know whether the platform...
This is an absolute disgrace.
Susie, I just want to clarify. I don't know whether that actually has happened on the platform. I don't know whether that was a bit of misinformation, because I don't believe that AI tool allows generated images of children. But we do know it's happened to women explicitly, for sure.
Well, let's be honest. It happening to women is enough. If it was your mum or my sister or your sister, we would be in uproar. The fact is we stand up for all women, particularly vulnerable women, but all women. It is a disgrace that he has allowed this to happen on his software, on his watch. Now, the fact is, Elon Musk clearly is a genius, and there's lots of great things that, you can praise him for, and that, people say, his space technology and all of that. But on this, he needs to wake up and see his legacy will be very poor if he does not get to grips with this. And universally, everyone is saying that. Universally, right, he needs to get to grips with this. And actually, if he had integrity, he would have dealt with it straight away.
Okay, let's bring in Paola, because I want to hear what Paola... I just want to bring in Paola quickly, Steve, just so we get the debate going. Paola, welcome to the show. Do you think there's hypocrisy here when it comes to these sorts of things?
Alex, there is 100% hypocrisy here. Because where was the outrage, you know, when the grooming and rape gangs were raping our children and our girls for 30 more years? Where was all this outrage? You know what? Without X, we wouldn't have a national public inquiry, because it was Elon Musk who told us, well, this is what's happening in the UK, this is what's happening, and this is the Labour government fault. So this is the only reason why we're having now a national inquiry. I tell you what, X is the last bastion of freedom of speech in this country. Only tyrants take down bastions of freedom of speech. Mark my words. So what this is happening, it's happening because of artificial intelligence. That is not X, it's much different and much wider, because without X, perverts will still...
Susie, over to you.
So a serious government...
Okay, so it just...
Sorry, I beg you, yeah, Susie, hang on, sorry, because Paola, you cut out for just a second there. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, thank you. Let me finish. So we have to tackle what's happening in every platform, but done by artificial intelligence. That's what a serious government would do. And a serious government who didn't abandon women as the Labour government did, you know what we'll do? We'll stop rapists and killers to come into our country with these open borders, because it's much better to have a photo in bikini, sorry, than not being raped on the street or killed on the street. So let's put our priorities straight, right? So we don't have to abandon women, and don't get me started about sex-based rights. X is the only platform where we can tell that a woman is an adult human female. And it's the only platform since Elon Musk bought it where we can, gender critical women and men can openly debate against gender ideology that is threatening women's rights.
Do you think it's acceptable that the X is allowing on Grok for people to put up indecent images of women in sexualized poses? Do you think that is acceptable? Do you think that's okay?
All artificial intelligence platforms are allowing that. Go to China and see what their artificial intelligence is doing.
But China's the standard. China's the standard.
We all know that the left hates X. We all know that. So this is a personal vendetta against Musk.
Do you think
what we can do is suggest Elon Musk to do something more to tackle this. But you don't ban X, because banning X is banning freedom of speech in this country.
Just so you know, I'm not actually saying we should ban X, and I'm not even sure that's what the Labour government is saying. What we're saying is it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable that children and women, indecent images of children and women, are being made by the AI tool Grok, and that is being put out there by X.
Yeah, listen, I think...
and then what Elon Musk has gone and done and said, you can pay a little bit more and you can keep doing it. I mean,
Susie,
Susie,
just sorry to interrupt you both. Sorry to interrupt both of you, but I don't think anyone's suggesting that this should be allowed to happen. I think the question we're asking is there hypocrisy here? Because Paola's made a good point, Susie. Paola's said, you know, we allow women to be raped by illegal migrants. The Labour lords alongside Lib Dem peers are shooting down amendments that would put basically domestic abusers into prisons immediately. And it looks like a bit of hypocrisy. Do you think there's hypocrisy, Susie? Very briefly, if you don't mind.
I did a couple of things. Number one, immigration went through the roof under the Conservatives, OK? Asylum hotels started under the Conservatives. We are the ones that are closing the asylum hotels. It is absolutely right to say that there is a massive problem around those asylum hotels, and that has got to be dealt with. Tories weren't dealing with it. We're closing those hotels. We're dealing with it.
All right.
When it comes to violence against women and children, please look at the facts. We have just issued the most groundbreaking policies around safeguarding women and children.
Right, Susie, I'm so sorry. We've run over. Paola, Susie, I'm sorry. We've run over massively. Final one word. Is Labour hypocrites over this, yes or no? Paola, you first, then Susie, and we'll leave it there.
Labour is 100% hypocrite in dealing with women's rights.
Yeah, OK. I think Labour are the ones dealing with the issue, actually dealing with the issue.
That's it. We'll have to leave it there. Ladies, thank you for a very, very heated debate. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you very much, both of you. Coming up next on the show, Mandelson defends Epstein's friendship with him, saying he was kept separate from crimes and won't apologise. And apparently it's because he's gay, who knows? But next, Meghan Markle is set for a royal return. Reports suggest the Duchess of Sussex may visit the UK for the first time in 4 years. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It's nice and calm across the Canary Islands at the moment. Plenty of winter sunshine, but cold across parts of Italy. So you can see plenty of sunshine into Monday across Tenerife there. Madeira seeing some sunny spells. A band of rain across northern parts of Portugal and Spain stretching into France. But pleasant conditions across Italy. But cold across Greece into Turkey. A weather system clearing here, but a frost at night time. Slowly warming up over the next few days there.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The week ahead looks less cold than of late, but we do hold on to fairly unsettled conditions with spells of wet and at times fairly windy weather affecting most of the UK. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK at the moment, tightly packed isobars indicating quite blustery conditions, and those outbreaks of rain will also work their way in from the southwest at times. And certainly an unsettled night to come across the northwest of the UK, the west of Scotland seeing gales or severe gale force winds, outbreaks of showery rain at times too. Meanwhile, further south, the rain gives way to some slightly clearer conditions, some clear spells at times with scattering of blustery showers, and a much milder night to come, certainly than in recent nights, and certainly frost-free to start the working week on Monday. As for Monday itself, we hold on to showery bursts of rain across the north and northwest of Scotland during the morning. Again, gales, if not severe gale force winds for a time across the northwest there. Could see gusts of 70 to even 80 miles an hour in a few spots, enough to cause one or two issues, I think, first thing on Monday morning. For Northern Ireland and the north of England, we'll see some clear spells and a scattering of showers. The best of the early dry weather, I think, will be across the east and southeast of England, with showers also starting to work their way in across the southwest as we go through the morning. The strong winds and the outbreaks of rain across the north of Scotland slowly ease as we go through the day on Monday, whereas towards the southwest those showers start to merge to longer spells of rain and become more widespread across England and Wales into the afternoon. I think here we could see some fairly wet weather into the afternoon. Quite blustery winds again, holding on to strong winds across the north of Scotland even into the afternoon here, but a much milder day than late, temperatures up to 12 degrees. Colder air starts to move in across the west and northwest of the UK into Tuesday, so some of the rain starts to turn back to sleet and snow across the high ground in Scotland, but elsewhere it's a pretty unsettled day, outbreaks of rain at times but staying quite mild. And we hold on to that less cold weather into the coming week with further outbreaks of rain at times, so staying pretty unsettled with strong winds to contend with at times as well.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Brace yourselves, because Meghan Markle is reportedly planning her first, should I say, return to the UK in 4 years as she prepares to support her beloved H, also known as Prince Harry, at the Invictus Games this summer. Well, the Duchess of Sussex is expected to attend events in Birmingham on July 10th, pending security approval. I wonder what that means. Her visit would mark her first UK appearance since the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and her subsequent funeral more in 2022, with security decisions seen as a key factor. And I'm now joined by royal and showbiz journalist Sarah Louise Robertson. Sarah Louise, pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me this evening. I think the British public have moved on from Meghan Markle. I think we've made our minds up about her now. But are we going to be forced to pay for her to have security here, despite the fact she's going to be surrounded by probably thousands of ex-veterans?
Correct, Alex. People have had their fill of Meghan, shall we say, up to the brim. I don't think royal fans could ever forgive Meghan for the way that she went after the Queen and spoilt the Queen's last few years with us, with the accusations that the royal family were racist, that she suffered racism within the royal institution, even though she's quite happily traded on her royal titles with which to make money, shall we say, Alex. The last time Meghan was here, she was sort of relegated more at the Queen's funeral. Her and Harry realised that they were no longer full-time royal players. They were relegated a little bit further to the back, and that smarted them, and they were upset by that. And so Meghan was relieved to take to the skies and fly back to sunny California back in 2022. Now, Harry seems to have a very short-term memory and has forgotten about all those accusations him and his wife made, well, him particularly, in his book Spare, and then Meghan when she sat on Oprah's show on that couch and made all the outlandish claims that she made. But the public haven't forgotten. They might have, but the public haven't. But Harry is excited. He wants to be back. He seems to think that he still holds a place within public affections in Britain, and he wants the king, he wants his father the king to be by his side, and Meghan also. But having Meghan there will depend on whether Harry gets his armed protection reinstated. And this is what he's been fighting for the last few years. He said Britain is not safe place to bring his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, back to this country. And he says until he can have his armed security, armed police protection, shall I say, paid for by us, the taxpayer, reinstated, then Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, won't be back. Now, sources tell me Meghan has never been keen to return. This whole thing around the lack of armed protection has served her interests well, shall we say, because it's given her the excuse with which not to meet the King and Queen Camilla, who she does not have a good relationship with, and also she has no relationship with the Waleses, Prince William and Princess Catherine. So she's this has given her an excuse not to set foot back in here. Now, if Harry does happen to get this reinstated, and he may well do, because it's said that Yvette Cooper is in favour of it's interesting that now that there's a Labour government, there is more chance of Harry having this armed security, this armed police protection reinstated. So if he does get it, then what excuse is the Duchess of Sussex going to give for not joining him at his side? It is going to be socially awkward for her. She is going to have to try and make an appearance, or be seen to be making an appearance. But there's already some little lines being trotted out, which has been planted, obviously, by someone in Montecito, to say it will all depend on the children's commitments. Now, isn't that interesting?
Interesting. Well, Sarah Louise
She's
Robertson,
already laying the groundwork.
Well, I was going to say, so I don't know how many more unpopular decisions this government can make, but that might be the one that finishes it off. I don't know. Listen, Sarah, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Sarah Louise Robertson giving us the inside scoop on that one. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again very soon. Coming up next is the net zero migration. Well, is it the dream of you at home? That's coming up shortly, but next.
It's possible that some people crossed over, but I didn't, and I think probably the reason I was separate from the third of those is because I'm gay.
Well, Peter Mandelson defends his Epstein friendship, and he says he was kept separate from crimes and won't apologise. That's next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word. Welcome back to the show. It's been pretty lively so far tonight, hasn't it? And we've got another big story for you right here, because former Labour Minister Lord Mandelson has said he was unaware of the scale of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, claiming he was kept separate from that side of Epstein's life. Get this, because he was gay.
Possibly some people will think because that I'm a gay man, I was sort of insensitised or I wasn't attuned to what was going on. I don't really accept that. I think the issue is that because I was a gay man in his circle, I was kept separate from what he was doing in the sexual side of his life. It's possible that some people crossed over, but I didn't, and I think probably the reason I was separate from the third of those is because I'm gay.
What is he on about? Honestly, what is he on about? Anyway, speaking to the BBC, he defended his past support for Epstein while admitting it was a serious mistake. Well, I'm now joined by US lawyer and commentator Deborah J. Blum. Deborah, thank you so much for joining me. This is, of course, a massive thing in the UK. Peter Mandelson is quite a senior and well-known political figure in Britain. He was, of course, our ambassador to the United States of America up until recently. Do you think, having listened to his defence, that it's something that the public in general, whether they're American or British, will buy?
Look, I'm a defense attorney, so I'm actually buying into it. Maybe he was kept separate from Epstein's proclivities. It could be that they were just pals. And I think that we have a huge cancel culture, and that's what happened to him. Just because he sent emails in the early 2000s and told him that he thought it was egregious that he was being prosecuted doesn't mean that he was a part of having anything to do with illicit relationships with a younger woman or knew of their existence.
But Deborah, with all due respect, he was in Jeffrey Epstein's circles, and I think that it's very hard, given how much time he spent with Epstein and with other people who were on that list, by the way, to say he didn't know what was happening. It's sort of like, you know, me closing my eyes and going, oh, I wasn't there, and because I'm gay, I've been segregated from the whole society. I think it's a very weak excuse, and he was also friends with other people on that list who have been, you know, allegedly been involved in it. I just don't think this really holds up, does it really, Deborah?
Well, you know, it seems like a lot of very well-known people in the UK like to go on the BBC, such as Prince Andrew, and advocate for themselves, and it doesn't really get them that far. And I think that Peter Mandelson's interview was 100% different than Prince Andrew's, but still, we're having this conversation where we're questioning what he said. I get your point that he was around it so much and was involved with other people, and there likely were whispering. So to the extent that that's true, he should have just said that. But maybe he didn't actually know. I think that that's the problem with prosecuting people or persecuting people for things that happened in the early 2000s. We just have no way of questioning those people. Their recollections at this point are really far and distant in time, and I'm not sure that he really knew.
Yeah, I mean, Deborah, look, I've got my reservations about that. He did call Jeffrey Epstein his good friend and gave him advice throughout the series, even after he was going through the legal system. I just find it very weak. And if he was supporting this man when all the allegations came out, then even at that point he should have called it quits. He even told the British government that he had called it quits, and then actually these emails prove that he didn't. So I don't know whether we can even trust his word on this, if I'm being honest with you, Deborah. But listen, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming on the show, Deborah J. Blum there, commentator and a defence lawyer in the States. Linda, I'll come to you briefly. I haven't got very much time, but I'll briefly come to you.
Absolutely incredible. The fact is that in one of those emails, and it doesn't matter how old they were, because morality's morality, in one of those emails, he gave advice to Epstein after he had been convicted of child sex abuse and trafficking. I can't remember what the exact charge was. After conviction, end of, that's what's wrong.
It turned my stomach listening to the interview this morning. I don't believe Peter Mandelson knew that Epstein was a paedophile and a sexual abuser, but he carried on defending him after he was convicted. And the biggest thing that really got me in that interview this morning, he was asked to apologise to the women, and he said, I apologise for the system not listening to you. He was part of the system who wasn't listening to those women.
Only an expression of regret.
5 seconds.
Terrible.
Mandelson went to Epstein Island, his New York apartment, his Mexico properties. You don't do that. If I knew a convicted paedophile, I couldn't trust what I would do.
I'm sure we've got to talk more about this in the papers. Coming up next, I've got the Raise the Colours lads coming in to talk about these flags being pulled down. And next, what do you think about net zero migration? That is coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The week ahead looks less cold than of late, but we do hold on to fairly unsettled conditions with spells of wet and at times fairly windy weather affecting most of the UK. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK at the moment, tightly packed isobars indicating quite blustery conditions, and those outbreaks of rain will also work their way in from the southwest at times. And certainly an unsettled night to come across the northwest of the UK. The west of Scotland seeing gales or severe gale force winds, outbreaks of showery rain at times too. Meanwhile, further south, the rain gives way to some slightly clearer conditions, some clear spells at times with scattering of blustery showers, and a much milder night to come, certainly than in recent nights, and certainly frost-free to start the working week on Monday. As for Monday itself, we hold on to showery bursts of rain across the north and northwest of Scotland during the morning. Again, gales, if not severe gale force winds for a time across the northwest there. Could see gusts of 70 to even 80 miles an hour in a few spots, enough to cause one or two issues, I think, first thing on Monday morning. For Northern Ireland and the north of England, we'll see some clear spells and a scattering of showers. The best of the early dry weather, I think, will be across the east and southeast of England, with showers also starting to work their way in across the southwest as we go through the morning. The strong winds and the outbreaks of rain across the north of Scotland slowly ease as we go through the day on Monday, whereas towards the southwest those showers start to merge to longer spells of rain and become more widespread across England and Wales into the afternoon. I think here we could see some fairly wet weather into the afternoon. Quite blustery winds again, holding on to strong winds across the north of Scotland even into the afternoon here, but a much milder day than late, temperatures up to 12 degrees. Cold air starts to move in across the west and northwest of the UK into Tuesday, so some of the rain starts to turn back to sleet and snow across the high ground in Scotland, but elsewhere it's a pretty unsettled day, outbreaks of rain at times, but staying quite mild. We hold on to that less cold weather into the coming week with further outbreaks of rain at times, so staying pretty unsettled with strong winds to contend with at times as well.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Good evening, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
Big, on to London.
Net zero migration. It's what millions of people in Britain are now demanding. I'm asking you, do you want net zero migration? You might be poorer as a result of it, but would you prefer it? And Bankrupt councils are blowing hundreds of thousands of pounds ripping down Union Jacks and St George's flags from lampposts, all while hiking taxes to record highs. Why are they so terrified of our national pride? Also,
the Brexit vote was a fair, democratic expression, and I will always respect that.
Well, that didn't last long, did it? Starmer's humiliating Farage clause surrender to the EU. It's like begging the school bully to dunk your head in the toilet one more time, isn't it? And the Duke and Duchess of Montecito, Prince Harry and Meghan, are plotting a UK comeback together after years away. Why now, and who's fitting the bill for their security after all the betrayal? And Iran is on several front pages of major newspapers today, with The Independent splashing Iran pledges to hit US military targets if Trump strikes. Plus, I'll be telling you why pharmacies could be the latest casualty in Labour's tax raids. And I've got a great panel with me tonight. Journalist Linda Jubilee, pub landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. And is this the future of farming?
Name of the cows, normally on a yearly basis. 1 year it will be, the name must start with A. The next year it starts with B.
Net zero immigration is the phrase more and more British people are using because, rightfully, they're sick to death of mass migration and the devastating impact it's had on our country.
One nation experiment in open borders.
Well, since the mass migration experiment began in the early 2000s, net migration has added nearly 10 million people to Britain, creating housing pressure equivalent to the building of around 9 cities the size of Birmingham. And you'd think our great leaders would build enough houses for that. Nope. Instead, we've crammed millions more people into existing cities, rocketing rents to insane levels, undercutting wages with cheap foreign labour, and hammering the working classes. In London, foreign-born residents occupy around 48% of social housing, supply that should prioritised and be given to British people who were born and raised here. That's quite simple in my opinion. I don't know what you think. And since 2008, real GDP per capita has grown at a pathetic 0.7% a year, down from 2.5% pre-crisis, leaving us barely ahead of 2008 and 29% below trend. That's roughly, to put it in perspective, £16,500 less per person. And then you factor in soaring inflation and taxes, and what 100 grand today buys you is what £60,000 did before the crash. That is shocking. And services are also at a breaking point, as you all know. NHS dentistry access has collapsed, with 20% less people seeing a dentist in 2-year periods compared to the early 2010s. Hospital waiting lists hit 7.4 million. That's over 200% more than the 2010s' 2.4 million. Rents have surged unprecedentedly. Independent modelling shows that net migration has, well, since 2001, added roughly £130+ a month to rents for people across England and over £200 a month in London alone. That's money taken straight out of working class people's pockets, your pockets, crippling young families. And the best people can say to them is cut back on your coffee and Netflix. We need to cut back on our addiction to mass migration. That's the solution. And crime has also spiked. Record sexual offences and violent incidents have risen sharply in sustained urban communities. And when you flood the population with people from alien cultures, you overload policing and services. Is there any wonder why social cohesion frays and safety plummets? This is the result of nearly 3 decades of idiotic governance. Labour and Tory alike imported millions upon millions into the country, many wages suppressed as a result of it, and of course there's been a failure to build enough homes for literally anybody. Hospitals and prisons also failed to be built, and a slashing of police numbers, all while they've inflated the population. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen, does it? And they've all done this to chase headline GDP growth by inflating the population. So it looks like Britain's doing well, while actually we're all getting poorer. This is a devastating globalist agenda that has changed communities beyond recognition. It sparked cultural clashes, left us less safe, priced young British people out of homes and futures, undercut their jobs and pay with cheap labour. Well, some foreigners also land in Britain, claim benefits, get a free social house and don't integrate and contribute nothing. It is a slap in the face. And to be quite honest, I'd rather be materially poorer and have my country back than be a few quid richer every year at this point. I want a country that has a shared singular culture, one with trust and opportunity attached to it. It's not impossible. Just look at Poland. They've barely had any immigration, and they're set to overtake our actual GDP figures by 2030. Net zero migration would be a start to bring some balance to the madness. It would give us time to ease housing pressure so rents fall and houses become more affordable again. It would lift wages by reducing the competition, give services breathing room, restore community stability, and be deflationary on a massively inflated pound. It is not extreme. It is common sense, pro-British, and is long overdue. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Journalist Linda Jubilee, pub landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Adam, I'll start with you. Net zero migration, should I say, is a word I'm seeing a lot now. It's talked about in the Telegraph today. Do you think that's a solution we should be looking to?
100%. We actually need to lose, I believe, between 2 and 3 million people from this country and stop people coming in as well. And we also have got to stop Brits that are scared of their communities, scared for their kids leaving. 250,000 left last year alone. Look, we have got towns and cities up and down the country that simply do not look like Britain anymore. There's nothing racist about saying that. We have, majorities that really just can't even speak English properly. You can go down high roads and not hear anyone speak English. That's not racist. That's an observation. And it's a true one too. We have 1.3 million foreigners claiming universal credit. How has that happened? So I spoke to a very senior politician a few weeks ago, and I said, if you have to sort this country out, you're never going to deport enough. We need to get them self-deporting. And they agreed with me. So what we have to do is stop the social housing. Give them notice. In 6 months' time, you're no longer going to get those benefits or those houses. Give them time to leave the country. Because even where we are now, Paddington, 72% of social housing in this place of London is foreign born. How have we ever got there? It's not racist. I can't stop reiterating that. We do want our country back, but we've got to stop housing the rest of the world, giving the rest of the world benefits. It's got to stop.
Linda?
See, what I would say here, Adam, is, and I agree with a lot of what you've said, but at the end of the day, I think the fundamental and underlying problem is successive governments and politicians have actually reacted to news headlines, to a populist agenda, and they've had a knee-jerk response, and they've taken short-term policies. Now, I desperately disagree with the whole Boris wave of mass immigration, of uncontrolled immigration, but the real problem we've got here at the moment, any economist will tell you this, is we've got a large and growing aging population. We're going into a negative birth rate, and we have too few people earning money in order to pay tax into our exchequer. And I'm afraid if you simply think that getting everyone to have more babies is the answer, it isn't, because that'll take 20 years. 20 years it will take to do that. I'm not disagreeing that is a good plan. Let's get away from negative birth rate territory. But at the end of the day, we do need some people level here of some expertise to help our
not on
economy along.
benefits.
No, not on benefits.
So
I
we're
agree with
importing
you.
net drains.
I
That's
agree
what
with
we're
you.
importing.
No, I think we have to have people coming in with skills
set
we
the
don't
rules.
have.
Well, credit where it's due. Unlike the last government, which in my view allowed net migration to reach a completely unsustainable million per year, it's now under this government down to about 200,000. And
as a result of Tory policy, though?
Well, no, a Tory policy which the present government supported, and further changes that this government has brought in. And it's reduced it from 1 million to about 200,000.
And Brit's leaving, Bill.
Now, there's a real debate about what is the appropriate level of net migration, and I'm not in favour of net zero.
Why?
Because you do need some migrants to fuel the economy, to do some of the jobs that we haven't got the skills for, and to do some of the jobs, frankly, that British people won't do. Yeah.
But just to come back on that a little bit, there's a lot of British people leaving the country at a time, many of them, when you ask them, most of them are young people, by the way. They're between 25 and 35, from what the data shows us. So they're young, well-educated people who are ready to work. They're wealthy enough to leave. So they're actually wealthy, good, educated people. They're leaving because it's still too expensive here. The tax rate is too high. There's no incentive to keep great, talented British people. Even our doctors and nurses, we train some of the best talent in the world, and they have to go to Australia because they can't get jobs in the NHS because we're bringing in cheap labour from Pakistan, for example, to fill those doctors and nurses.
Which we shouldn't have been doing. And, you know, the nurse training programme, the doctor training programme was cut in half by the last government.
It was.
We need to be training more of our own. But there are real concerns, for example, about the care sector, the building industry, which we need to build the homes that we need, that we will have significant skill shortages.
But Bill, you're missing the point. We have made those wages so cheap by bringing in cheap labour to suppress nurses and care workers, for example, because we're replacing them with cheap foreign labour who will do it. If we actually didn't replace those jobs with cheap foreign labour, the wage would increase massively.
And one of the first acts that this government took through the minimum wage negotiations was to increase pay within care homes. And you know, a lot of people have been squealing about that, but I think it was the right thing to do. There is a balance, and I support the fact this government has significantly reduced net migration, but there's always a risk that you can go too far and you end up with real problems for the economy.
We've got to be serious about getting youngsters into employment in this country. We have to be serious about that. And at the moment, I fear that we are just tinkering around the edges. You've got a huge growing band of what's called NEETs. You've got people who can't get jobs, and you've got people who won't get jobs. And we have to tackle this on the ground. I've had enough of talk fests. What I want is some action on the ground to sort this problem out, because we need long-term solutions in this country. We can't keep putting a sticking plaster over what appears to be a compound fracture.
But you've got a government that rewards shirkers over workers, so why were people going to want to work in this country when it's easy to sit on your settee?
Can I just say, I personally know someone who's getting 3 lots of benefits. This is a properly trained, so-called middle-class person, a benefit, one child, benefit for another child, benefit for a husband, you know, and they should be out actually sorting out proper work. They don't need to.
Well, they do need to. You don't get the life of Riley living on benefits. However, we do need to be tougher. And one of the things I regret was that the government U-turned on the reforms to welfare benefits. Some of the changes were put in place, for example, incentivising work compared to not working. But I think the government needs to come back, and we've got the TIMS review taking place of disability benefits, and I think the government needs to return to that, because we do need to skill people up, we need to grow the economy, and part of the way that you do that is getting more people into work.
Yeah, we also have a cultural problem happening, and we can all see it happening, right? There is fracturing across Britain. There is clearly parts of Britain where you go to it, and it doesn't feel like Britain anymore. Even the people there would tell you it doesn't feel like Britain, right? And that's a big part of this problem. And I think one thing that Poland has done so well, and many economists attribute this to Poland's success, where it's going to overtake us. It's going to overtake us. It's barely had any immigration. It's had zero illegal migration, pretty much. Where they've done so well is they've kept their cultural identity, so they don't fracture there. The government can focus on economics.
But we haven't done that.
On social policy.
That's where I agree with you. We have not done that. And I've been involved in projects after the fall of Kabul. I told you, I took some time off from being a journalist. I taught Afghan women, you know, certain things, empowerment, language, etc., and I used to have to disguise this. Listen to this. I had to disguise it as a sewing class so their husbands wouldn't get too annoyed they were learning an effective skill. I took them all shopping to a town I won't name. I had to go with the translator because no one spoke
And now we're importing those men, but apparently 11-year-old white boys are the problem. Misogyny, this is the sort of people that are running this country, that think that 11-year-old white boys are the problem in this country, or celebrities.
It's not.
Middle-aged, angry white men.
It's not
like
11-year-old boys.
At the end of the day, we've even got Eastern Europeans that are leaving this country because they're saying it's too dangerous and the services are going to pot.
But this goes back to exactly what I said at the start of this debate. Hang on a minute. We have got politicians that react to news media, to populist agenda, so we put on a drama, not a documentary, called Adolescence, and everybody overreacts to it. That's what happens.
Do we need more integration? Do we need immigrants who come to this country to speak English? Yes, we do. But the danger, and, I welcome the fact the government has significantly reduced net migration, but if you go too far, it has consequences. So one of the ways it's been reduced is international students who bring about £14 billion to our economy every year. And that can be self-defeating.
All right, we've got to leave it there, unfortunately, because it's time now for a great British giveaway. It's your chance to win 85 grand. Here's all the details you need to make it yours.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, the front pages are dropping as we talk. Plus, Chagosians say that they are hopeful Sir Keir Starmer's plan to hand Chagos Island to Mauritius will be blocked on Monday. But next, it's been revealed that cash-strapped council spent tens of thousands of pounds paying contractors to remove Union flags and St George's crosses. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Look, this is winter. It's flu. Flu comes in winter. Sure as eggs is eggs. There's nothing particularly special about the virus. It has mutated, but that change has made it able to spread through the community by defeating our existing immunity. But the virus itself remains the same in terms of its clinical impact. So while it's a problem at a community and population level, lots of cases, for people who catch this, it's no worse than normal seasonal flu. It's not like we've got a supercharged flu that makes people much iller. We've got a virus that's spreading better and it's come earlier. So we're seeing it rising up the sort of infectious disease rates faster for this time of year. And there are a number of reasons for that, partly because it is a different virus, it's mutated. We haven't seen this particular strain spread for a couple of years. So population immunity levels are quite low. That's why it's spreading more.
What you said there, very calm, very rational, quite reassuring, to be honest with you, seems very logical, understandable. Earlier today, the BBC decided to do a report that looked a lot like this. Let's play the clip.
The throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't got time to play it all, but she goes on to, like, you know, use the hand sanitizer. Again, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit fearmongery.
Well, look, we must take flu seriously, because it's a fact that if we tot up the excess mortality in the wintertime, just in the UK, and we attribute a lot of this excess mortality to flu, in an average year, maybe 5,000-6,000 people will lose their lives to flu. And in a bad year, it might be as high as 20,000. So we don't take this lightly. We're not complacent about flu.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back, everybody. Hard-up councils have been squandering tens of thousands of pounds of taxpayer cash on erasing British identity by paying contractors to take down Union flags and St George's crosses, and the exact costs have been revealed. Conservative-controlled councils in Bexley and Bromley, along with Liberal Democrat-controlled Oxfordshire, recorded the highest flag removal costs, with spending ranging from around 13 grand to 15 grand. And other Lib Dem-controlled councils, including Rutland, pay contractors 110 quid to remove a single flag. Well, those in favour say it tackles discrimination, while critics call it misuse of public funds. And joining us in the studio is, co-founder of Raise the Colours, Ryan Bridge. And Bill Rammel's here, and so is Linda and Adam. Ryan, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for coming in. What do you make of this story? Because you guys are just doing what I would say patriotic duty to put flags up around Britain. Are they terrified of our national pride?
I think they are. I think the whole woke left division, they're the divide. What we've done is we've brought unity, we've brought patriotism, old school values back with the flag. We're proud of our flag, we're proud of our country, and I think with how it's taken off all over the country peacefully, I think it's a beautiful sight, and I think there should be more of it.
Yeah, do you think these councils that are sort of basically bankrupt, which most of them are, is the wise use of their money? Because what you guys did, tell me if I'm wrong here, right, is that when they pull them down, you go up and you put a flag up the next day.
Well, we double them up then. They take them down, we double them up. But like you say about the councils, we're from the Birmingham area, where we started doing what we've been doing. And obviously, you know about Birmingham City Council, it's completely on its knees. They can't afford to collect our rubbish, things like that, and they're out there taking flags down. It's just, priorities, isn't it?
Not a good use of taxpayer money, in my opinion, but someone who might disagree with me, Bill Rammel, what do you make of this? Of course, the big problem here is that a lot of local councils, yes, they are bankrupt, but they're also putting out record high taxation to people. Do you think local people will think this is a priority?
Well, look, I'm proud of my country and I'm proud of the flag, but I don't think it should be a symbol of division. And I'm not putting this at you, Ryan, but, I've seen in my former constituency a George Cross daubed on a synagogue, a George Cross daubed on a church. I think that's completely unacceptable. When I look at Southern Way in my former constituency of Harlow, it's a road about a mile long. Every single lamppost has a Union Jack and a George Cross. Brilliant. Well, no, not brilliant. Frankly, I think that's excessive. Yeah. And I think it's, for want of a better phrase, un-British. That's not the way we celebrate our nationalism. We do. And I think there is a problem for councils. Most of the flags that have been put up are fairly cheap in origin, and they begin to look drab and tattered. And I don't think that's in anyone's interest in terms of celebrating national identity.
So you've said two things there. So secondly, about the flags looking cheap, if they was if they were a higher quality, would that be okay for you?
No, I don't. I don't
So
think on
that's-
every.
that's a
I don't
big
think
point.
on
Your second point
I don't
doesn't
think on
count for
every
anything.
lamppost. I think
Okay,
that's
but
over the
that
top.
that is how passionate people are about the state of the country and what's
how
going on.
some people
so
are
if people like myself and the other proud fathers, brothers, women, children, everybody, people just want to feel a bit more pride by just going out and making themselves feel better by putting a flag on the lamppost because of the state of the country and what's going on. And why shouldn't they? Yeah, it's our flag, it's our country.
Exactly. Look, Ryan, what Ryan and the Rate of the Colours boys are doing over in France, for me, is unbelievable. They're stopping more boats than any government has done in the last 10 years in this country. I salute these boys. They're brave and they're doing it. They're not making money out of it. They're doing it because they want to make a difference. Like I'm protesting outside of hotels because I don't want these dangerous men around our women and kids. We're doing something. We're getting out there and actually actioning it. Our politicians are not listening at all. We're the only country in the world that has politicians that are ashamed of their own flag. It's got to change. If it was a Palestinian flag, they'd leave it up, wouldn't they? Or they'd probably put more.
I mean, utter bunkum. Ashamed of their own flag. Keir Starmer, virtually every press conference he gives, it's backed by a Union Jack. It's simply not true. But I think there's a balance, and I think every single lamppost in the country having a Union Jack or a George Cross on it is over the top.
It's not every single lamppost in the country.
Come to Harlow and walk along Southern Way for over a mile, every single lamppost.
Well, that's a mile long.
Well done,
It's
Harlow.
not all over the country, but there's 2 points here. The first is, I think cash-strapped local authorities should not be spending money this way, particularly something like Birmingham, where they can't even collect the rubbish.
Right.
And they've got also problems with the higher authority in the West Midlands. But also, I think that what's wrong with being proud of your flag? There's nothing wrong with that. And on the way in, I'll just say this very, very quickly, on the way in, on the M40, I passed a big building with 4 huge Palestinian flags
so did I on
flying.
the way down.
No problem there. They're not being brought down.
Right. I mean, when you go around to these lampposts and places and you put them up, how many do you put up on an average on a night?
We're out tomorrow. We're out tomorrow in Birmingham. We're doing flag maintenance, so we're maintaining the flags where some might have slipped or looked a bit tatty. We change them, and then we like to put the Unions at the top, St George's at the bottom, and the amount of people that come out and say, "Would you like to?" You know, perhaps they're Scottish or Welsh or wherever they might be from, and we will do that for them.
Do you put a Scottish one up as well?
We will do, yeah. Of course we will.
Yeah,
of course we will. Yeah, we're Great Britain. And that's what we do. Yesterday we went into London and we went to the Home Office, and if you go onto our socials you can have a look at what we've done. We put 2 20 by 10 flags up outside the Home Office to say save our children, stop the boats. We went down to Downing Street and done the same, and we're just not going to stop.
They're going to have a mental health day off in the Home Office after seeing those, aren't they?
Let me just say, Ryan, you have got so many people like me behind you.
Thank you, Adam.
Right, and there will be so many people watching this programme now saying, go on, boys, keep doing
we're
it.
not
And I
gonna stop.
promise you, don't listen to the left wing or on Twitter or whatever platform. You have got the majority of men behind you in this country.
Majority of men? What? Everything's down to men, is it?
No,
women don't matter?
If you look, we're trying to protect our women and our girls, Bill.
Oh, he is being genuine, Bill. That's a bit unpleasant, isn't it?
I've got
I mean,
2 daughters,
he
Bill.
does
I don't
genuinely
want
care
foreign
about
men
his wife and
sexually
his daughters.
And the biggest abusers of women in this country are white Anglo-Saxon men.
So why
Listen,
point more?
Ryan's travelled all the way down here to talk to us now. I want to just bring it back to you. Ryan, when you see the Prime Minister with the Union Jack and things like that, does that make you feel proud, or do you think it's a show?
I think the surroundings and the settings of where he is and how it looks makes me feel very proud. I think the man that's saying the words, I think he's the weakest person I've ever seen. It's a weak man, weak government, weaker borders, and for us on the streets to be just putting a flag up to make ourselves feel better about the state of our country and what's going on, then so be it. We're not rioting, we're not taking to the streets and having summer riots. We've gone out in the summer, and I tell you, this summer you're going to see a lot more flags, Bill. We're not going to stop, and tomorrow we're out in the cold, whatever the degrees. We was out Friday night, snow flags we put up, we called them. There was snowing in Birmingham, and they still went up.
Do you get donations to do this, Ryan?
Yeah, so people go onto our website at raisethecolours.org.uk and they give a donation. A guy's donated money because he lives on a lane in Birmingham tomorrow, and he said, can you come to my lane tomorrow, and I want the whole lot doing.
Yeah, it's really
and we've gone, yeah, of course we will.
That's really interesting that that happens as well. And it's really, I think it's beautiful to see people wanting to see their flag. I don't see the Union Jack very often. I don't see the St George's Cross very often. I don't see it in my local council. I don't see it. I rarely ever see the St George's flag. I have to say, maybe once a year sometimes. And for me, that's a shame, because I'm very proud of my country. I'm very proud of Great Britain, and I would like to see councils. And there's some simple things that governments could do, like why don't we put the Union Jack and St George's Cross and Saltire and the Dragon of Wales as well on our council buildings, on our government buildings,
I went to a school that had them in the lobby all year round.
I did at my school.
Now it might offend someone.
But that's
this is where we've got in this country, and what I would just say with Ryan and the boys putting these flags up, and all the other people that are putting them up around the country, there's loads of people doing it. It is reminding our politicians we are here, and you cannot silence
Can I just say very quickly, I used to live in kind of lower middle class road, well, quite a pretty road actually, and there's a nice house next door but one, and this guy put the Union Jack up all year round in his front garden. All year, and there was nothing wrong with that. No one thought there was anything wrong with it. He was just a patriot, just a guy that survived the Second World War, was proud of being.
Now we're being called
What was wrong with
You're
that?
being called racist for flying the flag. We've had people coming out of the houses, cups of tea, saying thank you, cheering. The amount of people we get saying, can you please come and do our road? And yeah, we do get people like yourself, Bill, that the flag obviously must offend you in some way, and I don't know why it would.
It doesn't offend me. The volume and it being used, and I think for some people it has been used.
The volume symbolises the anger that's going on with the general public.
Ryan, final word to you. What would be your message to these local councils that are taking the flag down?
We're going to be putting 2 up for everyone you take down, and look out this summer. The World Cup's coming. The football's going to be on. The flags. We're going to bring this country back, and hopefully, with what we're doing at Raise the Colours and what we're doing with all the other things that Adam touched on, we can really start to make a difference.
Ryan, what a pleasure having you in the show. Thank you for coming all the way here today. What a pleasure. Listen, critics said the displays were provocative and exploited national symbols to intimidate minorities. Councils that removed the flag cited safety risks and routine enforcement against unauthorised items. Oxfordshire County Council told The Telegraph this: as a council, we proudly fly both the Union and St George's flags. However, placing flags or painting them on near highways can create serious safety hazards. These include reduced visibility for drivers, cyclists and pedestrians, and increased risk of distraction. The Local Government Association, along with Bromley Council, London Borough of Bexley, Shropshire Council and Rutland County Council, were contacted for comment, and we are awaiting a response. All right, next we'll delve into the front pages. The Daily Express is saying this: pharmacies in crisis after Labour's tax raid. Who isn't? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. It's nice and calm across the Canary Islands at the moment. Plenty of winter sunshine, but cold across parts of Italy. So you can see plenty of sunshine into Monday across Tenerife there. Madeira seeing some sunny spells. A band of rain across northern parts of Portugal and Spain stretching into France. But pleasant conditions across Italy, but cold across Greece into Turkey. A weather system clearing here, but a frost at night time. Slowly warming up over the next few days there.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The week ahead looks less cold than of late, but we do hold on to fairly unsettled conditions with spells of wet and at times fairly windy weather affecting most of the UK. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Tightly packed isobars indicating quite blustery conditions, and those outbreaks of rain will also work their way in from the southwest at times. And certainly an unsettled night to come across the northwest of the UK. The west of Scotland seeing gales or severe gale force winds, outbreaks of showery rain at times too. Meanwhile, further south, the rain gives way to some slightly clearer conditions, some clear spells at times with scattering of blustery showers, and a much milder night to come, certainly than in recent nights, and certainly frost-free to start the working week on Monday. As for Monday itself, we hold on to showery bursts of rain across the north, and northwest of Scotland during the morning. Again, gales, if not severe gale force winds for a time across the northwest there. Could see gusts of 70 to even 80 miles an hour in a few spots, enough to cause 1 or 2 issues, I think, first thing on Monday morning. For Northern Ireland and the north of England, we'll see some clear spells and a scattering of showers. The best of the early dry weather, I think, will be across the east and southeast of England, with showers also starting to work their way in across the southwest as we go through the morning. The strong winds and the outbreaks of rain across the north of Scotland slowly ease as we go through the day on Monday, whereas towards the southwest those showers start to merge to longer spells of rain and become more widespread across England and Wales into the afternoon. I think here we could see some fairly wet weather into the afternoon. Quite blustery winds again, holding on to strong winds across the north of Scotland even into the afternoon here, but a much milder day than late, temperatures up to 12 degrees. Colder air starts to move in across the west and northwest of the UK into Tuesday, so some of the rain starts to turn back to sleet and snow across the high ground in Scotland, but elsewhere it's a pretty unsettled day, outbreaks of rain at times but staying quite mild, and we hold on to that less cold weather into the coming week with further outbreaks of rain at times, so staying pretty unsettled with strong winds to contend with at times as well.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring tomorrow's front pages to you right now. Should we go through them together? The Independent. Iran pledges to hit US military targets if Trump strikes. The Metro. Fire and fury as Iran revolts. The Eye. We're not ready to bomb Iran yet, warns US generals. And the Daily Express. Pharmacies in crisis after Labour's tax raid. And leading the GBNews.com website tonight, EU demands Farage clause as part of reset talks, forcing Britain into financial compensation. And landlord hits back after backlash for welcoming rough sleepers into pub. A democratic outrage, Zia Yusuf accuses Keir Starmer of dragging the UK back into the EU. Now, look, before we get stuck into the papers as usual, you can see with the theme anyway, it's Iran. There is another story that I'm so desperate to talk to you all about because Chagossians say they are hopeful Sir Keir Starmer's plan to hand the Chagos Islands to Mauritius will be blocked on Monday as peers prepare for a final vote in the House of Lords and the High Court considers a legal challenge. And in a letter seen by GB News, the First Minister of the Chagossian government in exile warns the UK government's deal would put at risk the UK-US military base in Diego Garcia. The islanders have also made a last-ditch appeal to President Trump to intervene, warning the deal could put the UK-US military base on Diego Garcia at risk and open to Chinese influence through the back door. Right, there's one man in Britain I trust talks to more than anyone else about this, and it is spokesperson for the Friends of British Overseas Territories, Rob Midgley. Rob, pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Lots going on.
So much information, Alex, and if you want, I can just go back by about 2 weeks where some really big news came out. The UN Racial Discrimination Committee came out and said the deal has to be stopped, but did the UK respond to that? No, the government didn't even acknowledge it. And then that follows during the second reading, that we got the Lords to sort of stop the process and say the Chagossians have to be included in it. So they did a poll with all Chagossians across all the different countries, and the results came back damning, absolutely damning in our favour, which the government did not like. So they've had to go back again and say, during the third reading and during the report stage, this is not good information, and this has to be taken into account. Wow. Which has woken up the Liberal Democrats, because we were able to get 4 amendments through the laws during the report stage, and that's been really important because it's meant that we needed all the votes from the Conservative and the Liberal Democrat side. So we actually managed to slip through these 4 amendments by about 10 votes each time. So we really need to get all the Lords mobilised right now on the Conservative and opposition side. Crossbenchers are really important as well. So a bit of a plea to people at home that if you can get in touch with a crossbencher or a Lord on the opposition side, please get them mobilised, because this is so important. Every single vote counts right now, because tomorrow is the third reading. And like I said, we need every single vote in that third reading, because it's literally one vote could stop this whole thing right now.
OK, Bill, Labour, of course, have made their big pledge at the start. Well, it was pretty much the start of this government to hand back the Chagosian Islands, or hand to, should I say, the Mauritians, because they never even owned them. Do you think this bill should be going ahead at this point?
Yes, I do, and I declare an interest. When I was a Foreign Office Minister, I was the Minister responsible for the British Overseas Territories, including the Chagos Islands. I negotiated with the Chagosians. Let's just go back in history. This dates back to the 1960s, where disgracefully, and that was under a Labour government, the Chagosians were forcibly removed from the island. That was carried on by the Tories in the early 70s, and it's an absolute stain on Britain's past. As a result of that, there was significant financial compensation given. I think we're talking tens of millions of pounds to the Chagosians. No Chagosian has lived on the Chagos Islands for over 50 years. And what's at stake here, and this is why the government has cut the deal, is the defence base in Diego Garcia, which is really critical to our defence interests. And the reason the government reached this deal was that the defence of that base relies on spectrum radar, and that is critically dependent on international support. And because of the rulings at the UN, that was at risk, and that's why the government has cut this deal, which is in the British national interest and allows us to secure Diego Garcia for over 100 years.
Rob?
Which part of it was at risk? Because it's ours in perpetuity. Ever since 1814, it's been ours in perpetuity. Which part of that was at risk?
Because it requires international cooperation to secure the radar system to defend the base.
From allies?
No. You need a number of countries to support that, and because of the UN ruling, that was at risk, and that was why the deal was cut.
What you're saying is that there is something that predates all of this. Isn't that the point you're making?
No, absolutely, and it's ours in perpetuity. You're talking about the legal part of it that has been pulled up in the UN, but that was based on flawed lawfare that's been going on for decades. I was just talking about it with your previous guest, actually, and they have built that case across about 20 years and said, this is the Convention of the Laws of the Seas. In this loophole, you need to give them back. But there's another loophole within that Convention of Laws of the Seas, Article 298, that says that if it's a military base, it's exempt from any sort of legal standing or anyone to make that claim. So the whole thing is absolutely bogus.
I don't think it's bogus, and detailed legal advice was taken on it by the government, and there was clearly, and the military chiefs backed this up, there was a risk to the security of our base, and in the face of that, the government negotiated a deal which forever and a day secures that military base in our interest.
Can I just add, we've just seen the President of the United States take out President Maduro, dictator for all intents and purposes. We're seeing the bombing of Syria. We're seeing a world now where international law basically is only reserved for middle to weak powers. Superpowers like America are going, it doesn't matter. It actually only applies when we want it to. Is Britain playing the wrong ball game here, Bill?
And I don't think that's in any of our interest.
You might argue, sure.
Hold on.
I'm not arguing whether it's right or wrong, but I live in a realist world where this does happen.
Well, let me live in the real world. One of the dangers of what Trump has done in Venezuela is it gives a green light to China to invade and take over Taiwan, because their argument's going to be, if the US completely flouts international law, then then we will
I don't
as well.
think China needed any encouragement at all to start thinking about a policy towards Taiwan. And I was the Asia Bureau Chief of Fox News for 5 years, so I do know what I'm talking
Absolutely, and this will increase that risk. And do you know what? Over 70% of our microchips are produced in Taiwan.
Right,
and if China takes over, God help us.
But China's going to fire across the Straits of Taiwan all the time. They regard Taiwan as part of China. End of. It doesn't matter whether President Trump went into Venezuela.
And there has been a Western degree of unity that's not acceptable.
No, China doesn't care.
Let's see from Bill, please explain to me, in simple terms, like I'm a child, why we're giving away our own territory and we, the taxpayer, are having to fund that and pay for it. Please tell me, and to a country that doesn't have a claim to
in order to properly secure the base that is in our national interest, and we get a deal that secures that for over 100 years. And also, you know, when I hear these arguments, it's like the Chagossians have been there. They haven't lived on the islands for over 50 years.
Right, let's go back to Rob.
There is a first generation who were born there.
Over 50 years ago.
Yeah, and they're still around. There's hundreds of them.
I've negotiated with them, so
they want to go back. And they're saying, look, we can live side by side. They do it in Nakatiri, they do it in the Sentinel, they do it in the...
Why won't you just give them a referendum?
Hold on, have you read the reports on the degree of investment that would be necessary to enable the Chagossians to go back? It would be tens and tens of billions of pounds.
Bill, we spend tens of billions of pounds for illegal migrants coming to Britain. We're happy to invest in them. Why can't we do it for people displaced? This is the problem. It's this hypocrisy on the left.
May I just say...
That always stinks to me.
There was a KPMG report that was done, that was released in 2014, that said that rehousing the Chagossians in the Chagos Islands would cost about £10 billion, which is 4 times less than 47 billion times, which is what we're proposing to give to Mauritius.
Over 100 years.
Right, I will have to leave it there. Rob Midgley, brilliant having you in the studio as ever. Come back again soon and give us an update. Perhaps next week after that critical vote, we'll hear from you again. Rob Midgley, pleasure to have you in here. Listen, we've got more front pages to bring you next. The Sun, taxi for the BBC. Beeb to blow £63 million on 24/7 cabs. Unbelievable. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think that many problems that Luton has, I think many parts of the country are suffering from those problems. But I think there are some good aspects to living in Luton as well.
But, Raki, we have to address the elephant in the room, in a sense, and that is Luton an example of a failed multicultural town? What I mean by that is we have 54.8% of the population is non-white, the largest being minority ethnic group Asian, and we do see, you live there, cultures living side by side, and there's a lack of integration. Is that a problem?
No, I think there's definitely integration challenges which need to be addressed in Luton. Now, when I was a lot younger, there were significant social tensions in Luton. We saw the Islamist Butchers of Basra demonstrations and then the subsequent creation of the English Defence League, the EDL. But I have to say, even though we have those integration challenges, if you look in other parts of the country, there have been significant forms of civil unrest which Luton has not experienced. If you remember the 2011 summer riots that took place across England, there weren't many incidents in Luton. And if you want to talk about ethnic and religious segregation, I think that Leicester has far bigger problems than Luton. So I think that while Luton has its issues surrounding integration and segregation, I think that some of those problems are even more intense in other parts of the country.
We can't finish this conversation without noting, of course, the entrance to the away end at Luton Town Stadium there. Of course, that is an entrance which goes through someone's house. It's so bad, it's good. In fact, away fans who go there say it's a good away day. It's something they will always remember.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
More front pages. Let's start with the Daily Telegraph. Ban the IRGC Starmer urge. That's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps there. The Guardian. Iran warns US not to attack as protester death toll soars. The Sun. Taxi for the BBC. Beeb to blow £63 million, probably of your money, on 24/7 cabs. Daily Mail. Shot dead. Rabina, 23, a victim of Muller's in death squads. Mirror. Mandelson's sorry excuse. What a headline from the Mirror there. There you go. The Times. MPs to urge sacking of police chief in fans ban. Right, I've got my panel here with me. I don't even know where to start. These are pretty good headlines today, actually, aren't they? Should we? I mean, look, Iran is dominating quite a few front pages today, but we will talk about that very shortly. So maybe let's talk about Mandelson, shall we? We didn't get time to speak about that much earlier on, and that's on the front page of the Mirror. Linda. This is a sorry state of affairs, isn't it? The fact that he's done a Prince Andrew-style interview, that's what it feels like to me watching it.
Yeah, he's... it's just the kind of mealy-mouthed, carefully worded conversation he had. I watched the interview this morning, and he was saying, you know, he wouldn't say, I'm sorry. He, in fact, said, I am not culpable for this. And then he issued an expression of regret over the process involved. That is the worst kind of semi-apology you can possibly make. What he needed to do was look at the interviewer and say, I am deeply sorry that I sent these emails. They were ill-judged, they were badly written, and my sympathy goes out to the women who suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. That's all he needed to say, and he didn't say it.
I agree with that. And this has got real echoes of the Prince Andrew interview, and I think it's supremely ill-judged. He did make an unbelievable, colossal error of judgment. I don't believe he knew Epstein was an abuser, but after the guy was convicted, he continued to meet with him and support him.
Yeah, that's the point.
And
that's
I
the
think
moot
that
point.
is utterly inexcusable. And like you, I think his failure to look into the camera and to apologise to the women who were affected by Epstein is unacceptable.
Look, Alex, I've lost count at how many followers, gay followers, on my ex today are furious that he's using his sexuality as sort of an excuse, as a cloak.
Yeah.
They're really not happy. Some of the messages are quite sort of fruity.
It's insulting.
But look, let's just say this.
There's also an irony. For donkey's years, Peter Mandelson virtually hid his sexuality, and he was outed by Matthew Paris on Panorama.
Using an excuse. But one thing I will say, he's carried on speaking to and being friends with a convicted paedophile. Now, I couldn't even sit in the same room as a convicted paedophile. So what does that say about this man? You know, I'm not casting any aspersions about what he's done or anything like that in the past, but I could not sit in a room with a known paedophile, and I don't think many men could.
Yeah, it's a disgraceful state of affairs. I mean, I don't think he's had the Labour whip withdrawn from him yet, and I think that needs to happen very, very quickly. Peter Mandelson said, acknowledged knowing Epstein in the past, but has defended himself by saying he was unaware of Epstein's criminal activity and that his contact with Epstein was limited and distant. He has not admitted any personal wrongdoing. Look, there's a whole new boatload of news coming your way. The headlines here are jam-packed. MPs are calling for the sacking of the chief of police that authorised the Maccabi ban, because as we've seen, the evidence is just insurmountable towards this bloke at this point in time. So we will talk about that. Iran is heating up. It's on so many front pages, but the US is saying they're not quite ready yet to bomb Iran, which some people will see as welcome news. Toddler's ability to speak is damaged by screen time. Are you surprised to hear that? I'm not. Listen, loads more to dig into. We'll see you in just a couple of ticks.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. The week ahead looks less cold than of late, but we do hold on to fairly unsettled conditions with spells of wet and at times fairly windy weather affecting most of the UK. Low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK at the moment. Tightly packed isobars indicating quite blustery conditions, and those outbreaks of rain will also work their way in from the southwest at times. And certainly an unsettled night to come across the northwest of the UK. The west of Scotland seeing gales or severe gale force winds, outbreaks of showery rain at times too. Meanwhile, further south, the rain gives way to some slightly clearer conditions, some clear spells at times with scattering of blustery showers, and a much milder night to come, certainly than in recent nights, and certainly frost-free to start the working week on Monday. As for Monday itself, we hold on to showery bursts of rain across the north and northwest of Scotland during the morning. Again, gales, if not severe gale force winds for a time across the northwest there. Could see gusts of 70 to even 80 miles an hour in a few spots, enough to cause one or two issues, I think, first thing on Monday morning. For Northern Ireland and the north of England, we'll see some clear spells and a scattering of showers. The best of the early dry weather, I think, will be across the east and southeast of England, with showers also starting to work their way in across the southwest as we go through the morning. The strong winds and the outbreaks of rain across the north of Scotland slowly ease as we go through the day on Monday, whereas towards the southwest those showers start to merge to longer spells of rain and become more widespread across England and Wales into the afternoon. I think here we could see some fairly wet weather into the afternoon. Quite blustery winds again, holding on to strong winds across the north of Scotland even into the afternoon here, but a much milder day than late, temperatures up to 12 degrees. Colder air starts to move in across the west and northwest of the UK into Tuesday, so some of the rain starts to turn back to sleet and snow across the high ground in Scotland, but elsewhere it's a pretty unsettled day, outbreaks of rain at times, but staying quite mild. We hold on to that less cold weather into the coming week with further outbreaks of rain at times, so staying pretty unsettled with strong winds to contend with at times as well.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, there's one major story dominating almost every front page, and that is Iran. The Iranian people, of course, in their 15th day tomorrow in their rebellion against the Islamist terrorist regime. Also, on the front page of The Sun, the BBC is spending 63 million quid on 24/7 taxis. I could only dream of it. Honestly, it is implausible, the money, your money they're spending on it. Mandelson's sorry excuse on the front page of The Mirror, and the US aren't ready to bomb Iran yet. We'll be digging into that very shortly.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't